Hi, my name is Dave. You're listening to the last podcast where the first shall be last and the last shall be first. If this is your first time listening, welcome. I'm happy you have found us. And if you're returning, welcome back. I really appreciate you listening, and I hope you continue to find tips, ideas, and value from listening to this podcast. Today is Thursday. I don't normally do a podcast on Thursday, but yesterday I talked about negative self-fulfilling prophecies. And I want to do the second part of that today, but this is talking about positive self-fulfilling prophecies. But before we can get into that, we also have to talk about breaking the cycle. Because in order for you to go into the next year, and that's what we were talking about, was basically saying whatever we got going on this year, whatever we had going on in all the years prior to this year here, and going into the new year, we want to make sure we get rid of all of our baggage. Right? You want to start next year completely fresh. We're not talking about making a New Year's resolution. We're talking about literally changing our lives. So what I want to do is give you some ideas and some keys and some tips on how to break the cycle of change. And we're going to start and go into that today. So I know many of you wanted to change so many things in your life. And I've been getting emails about people who were saying that they experienced some difficulties in changing certain aspects of their lives. So in that retrospect, we can say, the change, we want to make that change, but how do we go about it to make a successful transformation in our lives? Now, life is constantly in motion. I mean, nothing stands still, right? So science reveals that every cell in the human body regenerates itself within about 7 years. Meanwhile, neuroscientists and psychologists agree that our brains continuously process new information, rewriting our neural pathways. That basically means that we are learning constantly when we're taking in that new information. So, in essence, every moment of our life reshapes us. You are changing right now as you're listening to me talk, because you're taking on this information. So if it's new information, then you're building new pathways, new neural pathways in your mind. Okay. So change is essential in our life, and growth is inevitable. The world around us mirrors you, and this dynamic evolution technology accelerates cultures, interconnect, and boundaries shift. Amidst this constant flux, the truth emerges. You have the power to guide the change in your life. A choice, that's all it is. But it's a difficult choice. A choice to transform your life. At any moment, you can stand at a choice or a crossroads, so to speak, or a fork in the road, so to speak. You can either continue living the way you are, or letting external circumstances and your past experience dictate your future. It's up to you. It's a choice. Or you can step into your power and intentionally create the life of your dreams. Even when you feel stuck and uncertain, every thought, belief, and action propels change. The question is whether you'll direct it or sweep along, or sweep it under the rug, or just ignore it. That's up to you. It's a choice. So your choice is to become better. Your choice is to become who you want to become, or who you might envision yourself to become, or even think of becoming. You have to break the cycle of change. Disconnect. So you have to disconnect from that old you. You feel unhappy in the area of your life, but what? You stay there because it's comfortable, might be familiar, less intimidating than the unknown. Think about it. Because if you have areas in your life that you wanted to change, but you just keep going back to the same old you, or the same old things, or the same old patterns, why is that? Are you afraid of the unknown? Are you familiar with the discontent? Because it's going to build up at some point. You're going to get to a point where it builds and it becomes so unbearable. A dramatic event or sheer exhaustion forces you to confront that need to change. And then you have to make that decision. You're going to declare your commitment to change, or you're going to take the initial steps and just go ahead for the gusto and just change. Or you're going to keep on staying in the same position and say, you know what? Some people get in that go where they say, yeah, I'm ready to change. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to do this. And then when it starts getting a little hard, they revert back to their old ways because they are comfortable there. They're familiar with that. So they go right back because the unknown, making that step beyond the door of the unknown was too intimidating. You gotta break through that cycle. You gotta make the decision and declare a commitment to change your life, taking the initial step that sparks the fleeting hope and excitement. If you have so much doubt, if you have that fear that's keeping you back, change feels overwhelming, and I understand that. And believe me, I've been there. I know. And you might even be second guessing yourself and your decisions, feeling paralyzed between discomfort and fail, or maybe even failure. You know what? And I'm just going to be transparent here. I even went through a process where I had amnesia. Yeah. Fear distorts your perspective. The familiar past begins to seem more appealing than the uncertain future. Basically, that's all it was, leading to romanticizing about going back to where the situation was because you didn't want to go past or open the door to the unknown and make that change. So you start backtracking because fear triumphs and you retreat to the comfort zone. But dissatisfaction soon returns, don't it? The cycle just keeps going. You make that decision. I'm going to change. I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to do this. I'm going to change. I'm going to do that. But yet, when you get to that point, it all goes back to the same old thing. You go back and you start backtracking and you start saying, you know what? I know this area, I'm comfortable here. I know what to expect. But then you got to get to that point where you need to break free, don't you? Because it's still a thorn in your side. The cycle continues until that moment where you're ready to burst. Or you might come across extreme pain, where life forces you to change through the crisis of loss or some type of breakdown or a major upheaval. Pain becomes the catalyst for transformation. So you also have to come to that part where you need to take a moment and look at yourself, look at your situation, and be honest, be critically honest with yourself. And some might say you have to probably be brutally honest with yourself. You have to confront your fears and resistance head on, acknowledging that the part of you is afraid, but I'm still able to change. By accepting your patterns and your motives, you empower yourself to choose differently because you deserve it. Now, in order to change, there's a whole lot more. You have to own that change. You have to own your transformation. True change requires brutal self-honesty, considering the common barriers that I just mentioned a little while ago. These are the things that we go through. And it may sound easy, right? When somebody is saying it or when you're reading about it, it may all be easy, but doing it is so hard. Breaking the cycle is hard. That is the most difficult thing. For when you're going through that cycle where that change just becomes inevitable, but a long road. Because you keep going back to the same old thing. You keep going back to your comfort zone. I think what we have to do is realize that there is a problem and we need to go ahead and break the cycle of that change. We need to break the cycle of the habit of trying to make the change and never making it. We have to be honest with ourselves. You don't really want to change, right? Or do you? Perhaps your goals are based on society expectations. I don't know. Rather than you, whatever you want to do or whatever somebody else is telling you what you should do. Don't change because of that. You have to have the true desires to change within your heart, and you have to have the reasons why. That thorn in your side must probably become a knife for you to really make that change. You think about it. It's got to get uncomfortable. Your dream or the reason for you to change has to be big. It has to be, you gotta want it. There is no drive to endure the challenge of growth. Fear feels bigger than you. So if you decide that your fear is bigger than you, you won't be able to change until you make that fear small. So I want you to think about that. You don't have to doubt yourself or your abilities. You don't have to do any of those things. All you have to do is make a decision and say, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to make this change, but I got to do it in these perfect steps, because everything is a process. Everything is a process. So if you want to make that change, you have to start saying, I got an issue, I got a problem, and this is my problem. And then you got to get to the root of it. Why are you afraid to make that change? What? And let me put this to you. You also, because a lot of people are afraid of change, or they're afraid of the unknown. So why? You have to keep finding out why. Why are you so afraid of not knowing what's next or what will happen? What's going to happen if you didn't know? Are you going to pass out? What's going to happen? Are you going to die? What's going to happen? Why are you so afraid? Why are you so fearful of making this next step, this next chapter in your life? You have to have intention. Life is meant to evolve, so you're meant to change. And that's why you got that thorn in your side. That's why that knife is in your back. You have to change because life is meant to evolve. When you align with your true desires and summon the courage to face temporary discomfort and commit to your intentional actions, you step into the highest potential of your reality, your change. Change doesn't need to wait for a crisis, but some people do. Choose now to create the life you want, no matter how daunting, no matter how hard, no matter how your journey may seem or appear to be. By taking responsibility for your growth and embracing self-honesty, you will succeed without a shadow of a doubt. The decision is yours. It's yours for the making right now. Are you ready to break through and transform your life for the year 2025? I hope you are, because the key to breaking your negative self-fulfilling prophecies is not an easy task. And it may involve a lot of soul searching. You also have to, and to be honest with you, it's going to be involving. It's going to involve disrupting your cycle of your own limiting beliefs, your behaviors, your outcomes. This requires intentional effort to change how you think, act, how you even interpret results. The first step is becoming aware of your own limiting beliefs or expectations that drives your behavior. Because remember when I said yesterday that self-fulfilling prophecies is all about the belief that we have, and that leads to the behavior that leads to the inevitable outcome. So ask yourself, what do I believe about myself, this situation I'm in? Or what do I believe about others? Or what do I think that others might believe about me that might be holding me back? So I got another question for you. Where did this belief come from? Is it based on a fact, or is it just an assumption? You have to ask yourself these questions to get to the root of the problem. If I believe I'm not capable of success, I told you that yesterday, you won't be. So therefore, you have to challenge and reframe your belief system. Now, once you identify your negative beliefs, you have to actively change them. And how do we do that? So everything is a question, of what we're going through. Replace it with something that's more empowering. All right, so ask yourself, here's another question. Is this a better belief for me? Or is this belief even true? Or is this going to serve me in a good way? Or is it hindering me? Or is it just something I assume? What evidence do I have that this contradicts this belief? I mean, because you have to basically say, I need to find out if there's any validity to this truth. And if so, then let's break that down. And then let's find out how we can make it better. Because I can't tell you what you need to do or what you look, because I don't know your situation. But you have your own examples. You have these questions that you can ask yourself. And you know what? I will even go so far as if you want a copy of all the questions that you can ask yourself to try to get down to the crux of the matter and what might be going on, you can email me at thelastpodcast443@gmail.com. I will send you a list of questions and a form that you can fill out for yourself, and you can start asking yourself questions, and you can start trying to get to the root of what it is that might be going on. All right. But you also have to align yourself with basic action, your behaviors. What is driving your outcomes? If you're constantly receiving an outcome, like some people say, oh, this is always happening to me. So what is driving that? You want to break that negative cycle. So the only way to do that, you have to act in ways to support your new positive belief. So that means that all your negative belief, you have to dissect that. And now you have to put more empowering beliefs in its place. You can start small, intentionally, manageable steps. This is something that's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight, but you can take small steps to start building a more empowering belief system. Focus on your efforts for perfection. I mean, nobody's perfect, but always focus on trying to get better every single day, consistently every single day, no matter how small. Learn how to reinforce your new beliefs. If your new belief is, I can improve my public speaking, remember I talked about that yesterday? Well, guess what? You have to make steps by practicing, speaking in front of friends and small groups, and take public speaking classes and build confidence. That's a great way to do it. Celebrate the small wins when you can, like completing that presentation without self-judgment. I mean, there are so many little things that we can do in our lives that can help us. So I want you to think about all the limiting beliefs that you may have, and go ahead and write them all down on the paper. And if you don't think that you can do them all by yourself, ask someone that you know, trust, and love. They might be able to even also add some things that from looking on the outside in that you can't see. So that might be another way where you can get some help, some additional help. I mean, take it with a grain of salt. You're not asking for DNA, so just ask some questions. All you want to do is knock down the doors to your negative self-fulfilling prophecies and start building positive self-fulfilling prophecies. And you can do this. You can practice and say, from saying, I can't do this, but this is too challenging. Or you could say, this is challenging, but I'm capable of improving. You can do simple affirmations, and positive self-talk to yourself. And you can rewire your thinking over time, reinforcing your new beliefs. I mean, this is the only way you're going to get it done. So you got to focus on, I guess, evidence of your own success, right? So you got to look at the evidence, even on the smaller wins. And that's why I say it's so critical to look at those small wins, because they support your new belief, recognizing the process that builds, I guess, confidence for you. So I'm only telling you because I've had to do this and I know it worked. Break down those doors to your self-fulfilling, negative self-fulfilling prophecies, and then you basically can start building on new fibers of positive self-fulfilling prophecy by doing affirmations, by starting to change your outlook to certain things. And for instance, I talked about the negative self-fulfilling prophecies yesterday, but the positive side of that is just the opposite. You have to be able to go ahead and track your positive outcomes, no matter how minor, no matter how big. You want to be able to celebrate your little wins, your little victories, no matter how small they are. And if you're working towards weight loss or something like that, celebrate. I mean, celebrate. Even if you lose a pound, celebrate it. because it's the only way you're going to start making that change. You're going to have to celebrate those little tiny wins, and whether you ate something healthy today, or what contributed to that pound loss. Did you stop drinking, or did you drink less soda or less juice, or did you stop eating bread? I mean, break it down. Find out what's working immediately. Okay, I know that I just lost 3 pounds this week, but what did you do different? Write it down. Keep a journal. Start writing down all the positives, and that's going to start reinforcing the new positive self-fulfilling prophecies, because you're going to start saying, I know I could do this. I know I could do that. And this is what I want. You're going to start making goals that are positive. This is where I want to be in 5 years, 10 years, or this is what I want to do. This is where I want to be in 30 days, 90 days. You're going to start building on that. And then as you start building on those small little wins, guess what? The big wins start to pile up as well. And when you look back over a course of a year, now your positive self-fulfilling prophecies are starting to come true. It's because you let go of all your negativity, and maybe not all, but most of it or half of it, that allowed you to continue to grow. So you also have to get rid of a lot of your self-limiting beliefs, because those self-limiting beliefs are also holding you back. What you can't do because of this, or what somebody told you, or you might have grown up with people telling you you couldn't do anything. This is not going to work for you because you're not cut out for that. I mean, you have to let all that go, erase it all, because you could pretty much do anything you put your heart and mind and soul to, within reason, of course. I mean, you can't fly, so you don't want to jump off a building and try to fly, because that's just not going to work. But what I'm saying is, if you are able, within reason, to do whatever it is that you're trying to do, whether it's go back to school, yes, you can. Nothing is stopping you but you. Don't let your circumstance stop you. I mean, our circumstance can get in the way, and it will definitely beat us down in times. I know mine have. But I started looking at them as a different way. I say, okay, well, this is just a roadblock. Now let me move this stuff out of the road so I can move forward. It's how you think about certain things in your life. It's that perspective that you need to start changing and start making it positive. No matter what roadblocks you hit, this is what you got to do. You have to visualize your outcomes as well. I said this before in a previous podcast, but believe me, when you talk about positive self-fulfilling prophecies, visualization is at the key, is at the top. You got to be able to see where you want to go, or else you'll never get there. So you have to have a little vision. And I know this podcast went a little long, but I really wanted you to basically have the tools and have some tips, some ideas to help you move forward and to help you break those barriers of your negative self-fulfilling prophecies. So I'm going to really wrap this up for you right now. So I think you have to be able to visualize what it is that you want out of life, and you have to be able to imagine yourself succeeding. And that is a big part of your self-fulfilling prophecies. And then, of course, if you're preparing for a job interview, visualize you walking with confidence, answering the questions well, and leaving with a great impression. So that's another way that you can go ahead and say, this is a positive self-fulfilling prophecy, because I'm going to make that happen. You got to see it before it happens. You got to see it so you know where you're going. Surround yourself also with the support of people who are supporting you in a positive fashion. Whether it doesn't matter what environments it is, as long as they're pouring into you positivity and you're able to grow when you're around them. Yeah, surround yourselves around those people. I guess reflect, adjust, and break the negative self-fulfilling prophecies is a process. It's not going to happen overnight. Reflect on your progress and make adjustments when you need to. I am really trying to move up because we're almost coming up to 30 minutes here, and I really didn't want to go that far. But hey, I thank you so much for listening, and I do have a final thought. The keys to breaking your negative self-fulfilling prophecy is recognizing that beliefs are not facts. They're just that, thoughts and beliefs. That's all it is. So you have the power to change, and you have the power to choose. You got to remember that it's a choice, whether you want to stay in your current position or if you want to move forward and change your life for the better. It's a choice. So by shifting your beliefs and taking new alignments and actions and focusing on your progress, you can create the positive outcomes that reinforce your potential rather than your limitations. Hey, my name is Dave. You're listening to the last podcast where the first shall be last and the last shall be first. I want you to do me a favor right now. I want you to go ahead and click like, and I want you to subscribe because I got some great stuff, some great material coming in the year 2025, and I want you to be a part of that growth. So thank you so much for listening. I wish you a fantastic day, and don't forget to stop here tomorrow. I have a new poem for you. Thanks a lot. Be blessed. Bye-bye.